Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports with Monga. And it's been a while. Apologies. And well, if you guys missed me, I'm back with the FPL game week 19. The last video I did was game week 7, so it's been quite a while, and it's been quite a bumpy ride all along. I've made some highs, I've made some lows, but it's been going pretty well. Last time I saw you guys, I was around 150k or 200k. I've been, it's been a good bump. I've been around, I've gone above plus 50k, my best rank being around 20k, which you'll see later around. But it was an exciting game week. Game week 19 has just ended. I've finally got my rank. I've finally got my points. 40 points overall after Gehi coming from the bench for me after Kabore didn't even start. And I was hoping that Kabore will, because, well, they had a good game. They won. Luton won against Aston Villa. But then my guy was not even on the bench. And I didn't get anything. But that's not the point. Eventually, it's been a nice game week. Overall, average of 38, making the points 40. It's not bad. I will take that any day. But it's been pretty hard. Boxing Day fixtures with none of the big wigs in a way performing. Watkins was heavily captain, Salah was heavily captain, Saka and Son heavily captain, but none of them delivered. It was the game for the misfits, if you can say. Solanke, Alvarez, and if you were lucky, if you had Areola or Hwang Hee-chan, they've been some players who have kind of made it to the top. Let's jump into it right away and see how my game week went and possibly what I'm thinking about game week 20. Before I get into this, I hope you guys like the content and will share, like, and subscribe to the channel. I keep getting to this point over and over that I find most of you who are watching, like more than 90% of you watching, don't really subscribe to the channel. So smash that subscribe button right now and we get into it now. So this is how the team has kind of looked for me overall period of time. It's been interesting. If you see how it's been, not a bad score, not a bad team, not a bad score. I had Colwill, Pedro Porro, and Gehi, as I said, came in for me for Kabore. Colwill was a little the substitution made in the first half of the halftime by Pochettino in the game. Chelsea were playing okay in the game. Chelsea was at Crystal Palace. I didn't expect him to kind of get out of 57th minute. I, of course, didn't get the clean sheet, but I could have had some points there if he had waited for 3 more minutes. But then I think one thing I've realized with Chelsea, it's pretty interesting to know who's going to play where. It's pretty like Colwill came in. Colwill was substituted. Thiago Silva came in, and it went more attacking. But then Gusto was the guy who kept running through the balls and through the entire game. And that's something I've been watching. Like, if it's a good point to bring in Gusto for me or not. Pedro Porro, Brighton did thrash Tottenham. But then, can you see this? Minutes played 90. He had assists, and he had a bonus of 2 points. This boy is a bonus magnet. If you've not had Pedro Porro in your team, you're missing out on a lot of fun. As I said, Gehi came in for Kabore for me. He's, Crystal Palace were leading quite some time, but then it all vanished. It all kind of went out after Chelsea scored a second. That reduced it to 1 point only. Dubravka, let's talk about Newcastle. I'm sure a lot of you have Newcastle problems right now. Newcastle is not doing really, really well in the league right now. They've lost Luton 1-0 and they've lost against Nottingham Forest. The next games are not that favorable as well. It's Liverpool, Manchester City, and Aston Villa. Very high on difficulty. I don't own Trippier, but I'm concerned. I'm like, if you're thinking of getting a differential right now, I would want to avoid a lot of them. Almiron has not been playing on his full cylinders. He's not been firing. Anthony Gordon was the most bought-in player as well at one point, but I would say stay away from him for now. These 3 game weeks, of course, Newcastle would want to push and get something positive out of it. There will be a reaction, but I don't know how long will this take for them to kind of react to this this dip in form. Dubravka, in my mind, stays where he is. I'm not changing goalkeepers right now. The midfield, that might look like I've stuck to Aston Villa for quite some while. The only time I took away Watkins from my team was when I wanted Darwin Núñez, and that was like a miserable period. I know a lot of you have had Darwin in their teams or have had, but I have decided never to go back to Darwin and keep my faith in Ollie Watkins, Douglas Luiz, and Bailly formed Aston Villa. These three players have stuck with me, and I've stuck with them for quite some time. They're giving me returns most of the times. They've given me, and they're not giving me returns most of the time as well. Douglas Luiz also was out because of his 5th yellow card, so I had to bench him in the Brentford game. But he returned the favors in the Sheffield United after like getting a last minute. It was a last minute goal that he scored and gets me the 8 points with the assist. But overall, if you see, he had like it's not like a crazy summary of like going double-digit holes all around. But when he's on the pitch, he is one who could take the penalty after Watkins. He is creating. He's playing a little deeper, and McGinn is playing a little forward these days with Unai Emery's squad. But I still feel that these players are a differential. These are clear differentials in my mind. Son heavily owned again. Human Song will be going for the AFCON Cup of Nations. 9.9 million now. You have to time this pretty well because he might be out from the game week 21 when the AFCON actually starts or the Asian Cup actually starts. But then that's what's going to be interesting. The Asian Cup starts around 14th of January. AFCON also starts on 14th of January. You want him for Bournemouth, but then what do you want to do? How long will he play is the question, because this is when the African Cup of Nations ends. People are expected to back in the first week of February, but it depends on how deep they go in their respective championships. I'm going to keep him for now for the next game week and then see what I want to do after it. Saka, he is just, look at the last games, like West Ham, Liverpool, Brighton, Aston Villa. He's not been firing at all in my mind. But then there will be very less, but then also the fixtures, the compactness comes to the point, and the tiredness you could see from Saka yesterday. The next 3 game weeks look pretty good on the paper. Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Nottingham Forest. I'm going to keep him with my team for now. Same with Douglas Luiz. It is Burnley next, Everton, and Newcastle. I'm going to keep him for Burnley and Everton, and then for Newcastle, game week 22. Think about it. Salah, again, the African Cup of Nations for Egypt. The Egyptian king will leave, but then he's playing Newcastle in the game week 20 before he heads out. It'll be interesting to see. I'm going to keep him for the game week 20. No change, no sub there. Solanke, he's just kind of doing an amazing job right now. He scored he scored a goal and also got the minutes played. He's like playing all the minutes for Bournemouth right now. Game week 20 is against Tottenham Hotspurs, but Spurs are not that, like, they lost 4-2 to West Ham yesterday. I'm going to keep faith in Solanke. I'm not going to change him and see how this goes. Alvarez is one player that I'm not touching because Haaland is still out. Pep has spoken about it. No change there. Might be thinking of getting Foden, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. How do I get Foden in? Because I want to keep money in the bank, enough money in the bank so that I can get back to Haaland. Ollie Watkins, on the other hand, is a must-have in my mind. You can't get him away at the form that he's having. Burnley next, Everton next, Newcastle. You have to keep faith. These 3 on the top are kind of keeping their positions. Ariola on the bench, Bailly, Kabore, and Taylor, just the benching options. Now let's get into picking the team for game week 20. And the early thoughts that I am having is, how do I get another Manchester City player? And Phil Foden looked electric in the game against looked completely electric against Everton. Like he just commanded the number 10 spot behind Alvarez. Alvarez, of course, scoring the penalty as well. So he's going to kept hold. But I'm thinking, how do I keep money? How do I get enough money to I either want to get Trent or I want to get Foden, but I also need to remind myself that I want to get back to Haaland as quickly as possible. I have 2 free transfers and I have 6.7 in the bank. So current thinking is, if I go, current thinking is to get Foden in here from 7.6, add him as a player, but then also think about how do I get this to to Trent as well. Like, what's my best way option? If I move Colville right now and I go to, if I move towards Trent, and that's going to be interesting. If I go to defenders, if I do to Alexander-Arnold, 8.4. I can still make these transfers. I'm not. It is pretty good to have Trent and Foden in the list in the squad basically. Then I can play three. I don't want to even bench any of them. So this is going to be very interesting. Who do I bench then? That's a different question. I can start with Trent Alexander-Arnold, Newcastle, Gehi and Pedro Porro. Those could be my benching of like this. But I could always one thing I really want to also do is, in my mind, if I keep Colville here, it gives me more money. It gives me at least 3 perfect attacking defense. But how do I move towards Haaland is the question. Of course, the easiest option will be to kind of sell Salah, select the replacement, and then you kind of get to, I would really want to take the punt on Garnacho, and then you elevate, and then you kind of elevate Alvarez to Haaland, who you can actually then buy, but then you still have money, and you can change here to Garnacho to, or I can't play Salah here, so I have to kind of go for, if I go back to one player on my mind is Bowen, because he's just electric right now. So this is very hard to keep, right? Because I might want to kind of downgrade this, but then eventually I might want to have Palmer, because he's one of those players who's, he was injured in the last game, but then his fixtures look beautiful and juicy. There's a lot of trust as well. This could be a good squad that I want to eventually get to. But right now, for the next game week, I'm gonna keep this team. Restore again. But this is something I can do. This is something this is one way to kind of getting back to Salah in a way. Like if I remove Bay and I get Bowen, that could be an interesting thing to kind of thinking about getting Bowen in. But then, as I said, I want to have Foden, so possibly Foden is a better option right now. And then play with this a little bit and see how this goes. This could be a good squad to kind of play with. Colville, Alexander-Arnold, and Pedro Porro with the 5 in the mid. Or I could even bench Douglas Luiz. Of course, it's crazy that I'm benching him for the Burnley game, but well, you have to make space for Foden somehow because his fixtures look amazing. It's Sheffield United. The form he's in is electric, so you don't expect him to kind of look back anywhere else. You have Watkins with the cover for Aston Villa, and you play Areola because he's just on a blinding. Look at this: 8 against Manchester United, 10 against Arsenal, Brighton, Sheffield, Bournemouth. You expect him to keep a clean sheet, but then these are early thoughts. Let me know what you think. How do you want to plan about it? There are some players still kind of coming back from injury, so there's a lot that needs to happen as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about the team? What do you think about the way I am thinking about it? Current team is this. Currently, it's existing in this way. It could change a little afterwards as well. But till that, let me know in the comment section below what you think and comment on the team. Do like this video if you enjoyed it, and do subscribe to the channel, and I catch you in the next one. Peace.